you know, anytime you start thinking about, you know, transitioning fully wooded timber to something that's vacant and you can till and plant, there's a lot of things that go into that. And I've never done it before. The communication between Pat and I about figuring out, you know, when, how, where, what machines, what we're gonna do with the property and why we're putting it on this section of the property for that matter. There's just been so much communication and I've learned so much about it, and this is probably the thing I'm most excited about season 2 is adding an entirely new section of the property that we're gonna be able to hunt.
I mean, what do you think? If you have them bedding over here, we're ways away from the other food source. We can pull from a whole nother category deer potentially.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's kind of the key is identifying, you know, maximizing the potential of your property. And we're a long ways from that first plot that we did last year. So you got a bit of a natural opening here. I mean, you're trying to work with what you got, you know? I mean, the main thing is you got to get it cleared first and do it with what you can afford and what your capabilities are. And once you get this plot cleared off, you know, you can bring in just a brush cutter here and probably clear out these small trees with basically a brush cutter on a skid steer and do a pretty good job and just clear this area out. You start working on this plot, making it a little bit bigger, maybe bring in some different equipment if you have to move trees. You know, when you get a stump that's this big around and you got a big root ball on it, you're going to have to probably bring in, like a dozer or something or a stump grinder to get rid of that.
Now, we're not looking to do something huge, but something that we can build off of, right?
That's right. I mean, you can always make it bigger later on. And then now you got a secondary spot, you know, for wins, or maybe the deer for some reason are using this plot because they like what you planted versus that one. It gives you options.
I mean, I've had cameras back here for a little while in a couple different areas, but throughout the end of last year, even while I was kind of dreaming of this next phase, right? And it seems that the deer that I'm getting on camera are different than the ones that are on this plot. So if I can pull from hopefully another bedding area, another population ever, magnets. Just try and make magnets.
I also like to identify the trees I want to keep, and then I flag them. Because if I got a white oak tree, I'm going to do everything in my power to
not not mow that or to not have to take it down.
That tree is going to produce white acorns, which is a big food source for, you know, not just deer but a lot of animals. So I tried to save those good hardwood trees. You know, if I got like a basswood or some softwood there, you know, there's a lot of softwood in here, but those trees are fast growing. They're not a timber value as much. And those are the kind of the trees that I'm going to get rid of, but I'm going to keep them good ones if I can. And then there might be a tree that I'm like, that's a perfect tree stand tree.
Be mapping that out beforehand, you're saying. That makes sense.
So if I find 2 trees that are kind of a cluster, then I can kind of tuck the tree stands in and offers me some breakup so I ain't silhouetted or hanging out there. So sometimes I build, you know, water holes and I build food plots kind of around
what's there,
trees,
where you're going to be hanging your stand.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. So what, we just draw a circle, start off with what we think is a decent size, and mark the trees and have someone come in here and mow everything that isn't marked.
Yeah, just mark. I would just go along with ribbon or whatever you got to mark them and just start marking out the area, and then get your guy in here and start clearing this, because the sooner the better.
Yeah, this place is going to look a lot different in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, that's the key, just getting motivated, and too many people come up with too many excuses not to get motivated and start. So
that's one thing we have. I'm motivated. I'm motivated.
This guy, you are motivated. I can promise you that.
Okay, so today's kind of a cool day. You can hear some noises in the background. We got a guy in with a skid steer and a big old freaking mower, and today's the day we finally get to start on food plot number 2. You know, I can't tell you how many times Pat told me when we were walking this whole thing that there's so much land here out of this 80 acres that we haven't touched yet. We looked on a map, we plotted it out, we walked it, and we decided this is the best area to try and pull deer from an entirely new bedding area. And we got a guy with a skid steer and a big old chopper in the front of it, just mowing stuff down, and let's go see what he's up to. You can see like everything's already pretty destroyed. I mean, this is just the path that he cleared going out. Now we have to till this up, and he's got an attachment for that, but it's yeah, enough for the Ranger to be able to go through it, no problem. And eventually, the more we go on it and the more we use it, it's gonna get mad down even more. So. You can see it literally just pulverizes, chops up, whatever you want to call it. I've actually gone through and taken a lot of the bigger stuff out. Kind of something like this has got to go. Clean up. Again, the goal is just to get all the big stuff out, so then when the tilling machine comes through, it doesn't get caught up in the tiller. But a lot of work to be done yet, but we're making progress. There's a couple of them already. Look at, there's actually like they're kind of all over there too.
Yeah.
So this is the start of plot number 2.
Yeah, you did a good job. You got to start clearing at some point.
Yeah.
And this was solid timber. What I think we should do right, you know, for this first year, hey, I obviously got your main plot there.
Yeah.
This is your secondary plot. We're just gonna today, because this is all just freshly, you know, dug up, and all this dirt is nice and moist, and we don't really have to do much here besides come in and we'll just put some seed on it.
Okay.
For the, you know, that'll help hold the soil in place. Say you bring your dad and you want to drop him off on the way through.
Yeah.
Now you can go to the secondary plot.
That's right.
And you have another option. Like you said, winds, maybe your trail camera, maybe there's a big deer living back here and he's bedded back here on the backside of your property or on the neighbor. And he might not even get to that plot.
Yeah.
He might go a different direction, and now all of a sudden he's like, wait, there's an option. I can feed over here. This is a good start for sure. So we'll just put some seed on it right now. Some white clover and some other blends of clover in here, as well as, you know, some chicory and stuff. So that stuff is good with a little bit less light. And you know, it should grow in here, and you know, it'll provide a food source for deer.
You know, while we're working on this second food plot, you're turning straight timber to tillable dirt. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time, but Pat continued to remind me, you can't forget about that first kill plot. And so in the next episode, we're gonna circle back and pretty much just renovate it, improve it. And he's got some things that are not only a little bit sneaky, but are just gonna kind of take the existing food plot to that next level. And yeah, it's super exciting.